Stop scrolling. Right now. I need you to answer this question honestly. Who in your life right now is going to betray you? You don't know, do you? That's the problem. You trust people. You give them access. You let them in. You share your secrets, your vulnerabilities, your plans, and you tell yourself that loyalty is real, that people are good, that if you're genuine with them, they'll be genuine with you. You're wrong. And that belief, that beautiful, naive belief, is exactly why you keep getting hurt. Here's what nobody wants to tell you. Betrayal isn't random. It's not bad luck. It's not that you keep meeting the wrong people. Betrayal is predictable. It follows patterns. And the reason you keep experiencing it is because you haven't learned to see those patterns. You haven't learned the rules. Machiavelli spent his entire life studying power, loyalty, and human nature in the most brutal political environment in history, Renaissance Italy, where one wrong move meant death. And he discovered something that will make you uncomfortable. Trust is a weakness unless you know exactly how to control it. There are 7 rules, 7 principles that make you immune to betrayal, not by avoiding relationships, but by understanding them so completely that nobody can ever blindside you again. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I am untouchable. Let's begin. You've been operating under a dangerous illusion your entire life, that betrayal happens because people are bad. It doesn't. Betrayal happens because you don't understand the mechanics of loyalty. There's a framework, 7 rules, that separates those who get betrayed repeatedly from those who never see it coming again. And here's the brutal truth. 95% of people will never learn these rules. They'll go through life getting hurt, feeling shocked, asking, how could they do this to me? And never once realizing they created the conditions for their own betrayal. Then there are those who learn. Those who develop something most people think is impossible. Strategic trust. The ability to give people access without giving them power. The ability to form deep connections without creating vulnerabilities. The ability to see betrayal coming from a mile away and neutralize it before it happens. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago when he wrote The Prince. He watched kingdoms fall because rulers trusted the wrong people. He saw families destroyed because someone didn't recognize the signs. And he created a blueprint, not for avoiding all relationships, but for navigating them with your eyes wide open. These 7 rules are not taught in schools. They're not discussed in therapy. They're not part of polite conversation, because society needs you to be trusting. It needs you to be vulnerable. It needs you to keep believing that everyone means well. That keeps you controllable. Today, we're going to shatter that illusion. We're going to map the invisible architecture of betrayal. And once you see these patterns, once you understand these rules, you can never be blindsided again. The people who would have destroyed you will reveal themselves before they strike, and you'll have a choice. Remove them or neutralize them. This will be uncomfortable. It might even be painful. Because some of these rules will make you look at your current relationships differently. You might see things you don't want to see. But here's the truth. Would you rather be comfortable and vulnerable, or uncomfortable and protected? The choice has always been yours. Rule 1, never reveal your full hand. The first rule is the foundation of everything else. And most people violate it within 5 minutes of meeting someone new. Never reveal your full hand. Never give anyone complete information about who you are, what you want, what you fear, or what you're planning. The person who knows everything about you has everything they need to destroy you. Think about the last time you were betrayed. I guarantee that the person who hurt you had information. They knew your weaknesses. They knew your secrets. They knew what mattered to you. And they used that information as a weapon the moment it benefited them to do so. This is the pattern most people miss. Oversharing creates vulnerability. You meet someone, you feel a connection, and you think, finally someone I can be real with. So you open up, you tell them about your childhood trauma, your insecurities, your relationship problems, your financial situation, your dreams, your fears, everything. And in that moment, you just armed your potential enemy. You gave them the blueprint to hurt you. Not because they're planning to betray you right now, but because situations change. Incentives shift. And when they do, that person will remember everything you said. Psychologically, this happens because humans crave connection. We think connection requires complete transparency. We've been taught that being real means exposing everything, that authentic relationships require total vulnerability. That's a lie. That's the lie that keeps you getting hurt. Real connection doesn't require you to hand someone a loaded gun. Real trust doesn't mean giving someone the keys to your destruction. Strategic relationships, the kind that last, the kind that protect you, are built on selective disclosure. You reveal what serves the relationship. You hold back what could be weaponized. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool reveals everything immediately and gets destroyed later. The wise man reveals strategically and never gives anyone enough rope to hang him with. Here's what this looks like in practice. Someone asks about your weekend. You don't lie, but you don't give them your entire psychological state. Someone asks about your relationship. You share surface-level information, not the deep conflicts. Someone asks about your business. You tell them what's public, not what's proprietary. This isn't about being fake. This is about being smart. Because the person who knows your pressure points controls you. The person who knows your fears can manipulate you. The person who knows your plans can sabotage you. The cost of violating Rule 1. You become predictable. You become controllable. You hand people the exact information they need to hurt you when circumstances change, and circumstances always change. The friend becomes a competitor. The partner becomes an ex. The colleague becomes a rival. And suddenly, everything you told them in confidence becomes ammunition. You see this everywhere. The business partner who knew your financials and used them against you in the split. The ex who knew your insecurities and weaponized them in the breakup. The friend who knew your secrets and spread them when you had a falling out. Every single case of betrayal involves information you voluntarily gave. To move from Rule 1 to Rule 2, you must kill your need for total transparency. You must accept that keeping parts of yourself private isn't dishonesty, it's protection. You must learn to share selectively, strategically, and always with the understanding that anything you say can and will be used against you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my story. Rule 2. Watch what they do, not what they say. People lie. Constantly. Not always maliciously, but consistently. They tell you what they think you want to hear. They tell you what makes them look good. They tell you what they believe in the moment, even if their actions contradict it 5 minutes later. The second rule is simple. Actions reveal truth. Words conceal it. If you want to know who someone really is, ignore everything they say and watch everything they do. The person who says, "I'd never betray you," but gossips about everyone else to you, they're gossiping about you to everyone else. Guaranteed. The person who says, "I value loyalty," but abandoned their last 3 friends when things got difficult, they'll abandon you too. The person who says, "You can trust me," but constantly lies about small things, they're lying about big things too, you just haven't caught them yet. This is the pattern. People broadcast who they are through their actions, but you're too busy listening to their words to notice. You want to believe what they're saying because belief is comfortable. But belief without evidence is delusion. Watch how they treat other people. That's how they'll treat you eventually. Watch how they handle conflict. That's how they'll handle conflict with you. Watch how they respond to stress. That's who they become when the mask drops. Watch what they do when they think nobody's watching. That's who they actually are. Psychologically, this works because humans are consistent. We have patterns. We have default behaviors. Someone who lies to their spouse will lie to you. Someone who steals from their employer will steal from you. Someone who betrays their family will betray you. The context changes, but the pattern remains. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote, "Men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand, for all men can see, but few can feel. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." Most people are watching the performance. The wise are watching the reality behind it. Here's the tactical application. When someone tells you they're loyal, you don't accept it. You test it. You create small situations where loyalty costs them something. Time, money, social capital. If they pass those small tests, you give them slightly more access. If they fail, you know exactly who they are, before they have the power to really hurt you. When someone tells you they're trustworthy, you verify. You see if their actions over time match their claims. You look for inconsistencies. You pay attention to the gaps between what they say and what they do. Those gaps tell you everything. The warning here: most people you know right now are showing you exactly who they are, but you're not watching. You're listening to their words, their excuses, their explanations, and you're missing the data. The friend who only calls when they need something. The partner who promises to change but never does. The colleague who takes credit for your work while smiling to your face. They're all telling you who they are through actions, and you keep choosing to believe the words instead. This is why you keep getting betrayed, not because you can't see it coming, because you refuse to look at what's right in front of you. You want to believe, and that desire to believe overrides the evidence. To transcend Rule 2, you must become ruthlessly empirical. You must train yourself to ignore words and track actions. You must create tests, small, low-stakes situations that reveal character, and you must be willing to see what those tests show you, even when it contradicts what you want to believe. Rule 3, understand incentives, not intentions. This is where it gets dark. This is where most people's worldview breaks. People don't betray you because they're evil. They betray you because betraying you becomes the rational choice given their incentives. And if you don't understand someone's incentives, you cannot predict their behavior. Let me show you how this works. You have a business partner. You trust them. You've built something together. You think loyalty is real, but here's what you're missing. Right now, staying loyal serves their interests. You're both growing, you're both winning. Loyalty is easy when everyone's winning, but incentives shift. Someone offers them a better deal, or the business starts struggling, or they meet someone who could advance their career faster. Suddenly, the rational choice, the choice that serves their interests, is to betray you. And they will. Not because they're bad people, because humans optimize for self-interest. This is the brutal truth Machiavelli spent his career documenting. People act in their own interest, always. Even when they tell themselves they're acting from loyalty, from love, from principle, underneath there's a calculation. And when that calculation changes, behavior changes. Think about it. The friend who stops calling when you lose your status. They didn't stop liking you. You stopped being useful. The partner who cheats when things get difficult. They didn't stop loving you. The cost-benefit of staying shifted. The employee who leaves for a competitor. They didn't become disloyal. They got a better offer. Psychologically, humans are not the noble creatures we pretend to be. We're optimizers. We're constantly running calculations, often unconsciously, about what serves us best. And when betraying you serves someone better than staying loyal, the only question is whether they have the courage to do it. This is why intentions are meaningless. Someone can fully intend to be loyal to you. They can genuinely mean it when they say, "I'll never leave you," or "I've got your back forever." But intentions crumble the moment incentives shift. What they intended yesterday becomes irrelevant when circumstances change today. The strategic application. Never rely on someone's goodwill or intentions. Instead, structure relationships so that betraying you costs them more than staying loyal. Make yourself valuable enough that losing you hurts them. Create mutual dependencies where betrayal is mutually destructive. Build situations where their interests align with yours, not forever, but for as long as the relationship matters. Machiavelli once said, "Wise men should always remember that the friendship of weak men, or of those who have less need of you than you of them, is not to be relied upon." He understood that relationships are conditional on circumstances. When circumstances change, relationships change. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Your spouse is loyal to you as long as you're the best option they perceive. Your business partner stays loyal as long as the partnership serves them. Your friends remain friends as long as the relationship provides value. This isn't cynical. This is observation. The cost of not understanding Rule 3. You get blindsided. You trust people based on their stated intentions, and when their incentives shift, you're shocked by the betrayal. You say, "I never saw it coming," when the signs were everywhere. You just weren't looking at incentive structures. The person who understands incentives is never surprised. They see the betrayal coming because they see the incentives shifting. They watch for the moment when betraying them becomes rational, and they either change the incentives or create distance before it happens. Now drop this. I see the game. Rule 4. Strategic distance is strategic power. This rule breaks most people because it requires accepting something painful. Closeness creates vulnerability. The closer someone is to you, the more power they have to hurt you. And therefore, strategic relationships require strategic distance. Notice I said strategic distance, not emotional distance. You can care about someone, you can value them, but you must maintain boundaries that protect you from total destruction if they turn. Here's what strategic distance looks like. You don't make any one person your entire support system. You don't give one friend all your secrets. You don't make one business relationship your entire livelihood. You don't make one romantic partner your entire source of validation. You distribute risk. Think of it like investment. No smart investor puts all their money in one stock. Why? Because if that stock crashes, they're destroyed. Same principle applies to relationships. If you put all your trust, all your emotional dependency, all your vulnerability in one person, and that person betrays you, you're destroyed. But if you maintain strategic distance, if you have multiple friends who each know different parts of you, multiple professional relationships that each serve different purposes, multiple sources of validation and support, then no single betrayal can devastate you. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." He understood that dependency creates weakness. When you need someone, they control you. When someone is too close, they can destroy you. Strategic distance maintains your sovereignty. Psychologically, this is difficult because humans crave intimacy. We want that one person who knows everything, that one relationship where we can be completely ourselves. But that desire, that beautiful human desire, is exactly what creates the conditions for catastrophic betrayal. The person who knows everything about you doesn't just have information, they have access, emotional access, psychological access. They know exactly which buttons to push, exactly what will hurt you most, and when, not if, when, that relationship sours, they have everything they need to inflict maximum damage. The tactical application: compartmentalize. Have work friends who don't know about your personal life. Have personal friends who don't know about your business. Have family who doesn't know about your relationship issues. Have a therapist who knows your trauma but doesn't know your daily social circle. This creates what's called defensive architecture. If one relationship fails, it doesn't take down your entire life. If one person betrays you, they only have access to one compartment, not the whole system. The betrayal hurts, yes, but it doesn't destroy you. But here's the shadow side of Rule 4. Loneliness. When you maintain strategic distance with everyone, nobody knows all of you. You're protected, yes, but you're also isolated. You're safe, but you're alone. This is the trade. This is the price. Most people aren't willing to pay it. They'd rather risk devastation than accept strategic isolation. And that's fine. That's a choice. But it's a choice that guarantees repeated betrayal. Because without strategic distance, you're always one relationship away from collapse. The person who masters Rule 4 is never surprised by betrayal and never destroyed by it. Because no single person has enough access to truly devastate them. The betrayal stings, but it doesn't shatter. And that difference between pain and destruction is everything. Rule 5. Test loyalty before it matters. You don't discover who's loyal during the crisis. You discover who was always loyal. And the only way to know before the crisis hits is to test them when the stakes are low. This is Rule 5. Test loyalty consistently, strategically, in small ways that reveal character without risking catastrophe. Because the person who fails a small loyalty test will absolutely fail a big one. But by then, it's too late. Here's how testing works. You create situations where someone has to choose between their comfort and your benefit. Not huge sacrifices, small ones. You see if they show up when it's inconvenient, if they keep their word when nobody's watching, if they defend you when you're not in the room. These micro-tests reveal everything. The friend who says they're always there for you, call them at 3 a.m. with a real problem. See if they answer. The business partner who says they're committed, Ask them to sacrifice something small but meaningful. See if they do it. The romantic partner who says they're loyal, see how they talk about you to others when they think you won't find out. Machiavelli wrote extensively about this. He understood that princes who didn't test their advisors ended up dead. Because loyalty that's never tested is loyalty that doesn't exist. It's just a performance waiting to end. The psychological principle here: humans will tell you anything, but behavior under pressure reveals truth. Small pressures, small revelations. Big pressures, big revelations. But by the time you're facing big pressure, you need to already know who's real. Here are specific tests. Ask for help with something inconvenient but not catastrophic. See who shows up. Share something moderately sensitive. See who keeps it confidential. Create a situation where supporting you costs them social capital. See who pays the price. Make a mistake and see who uses it against you versus who helps you fix it. Succeed at something and see who celebrates versus who diminishes. Each test gives you data, and data compounds. After 6 months of micro-tests, you know exactly who someone is. You know their loyalty threshold. You know what they'll sacrifice for you and what they won't. You know whether to give them more access or create more distance. The warning: most people skip this step entirely. They assume loyalty because someone said the right words. They trust because they want to trust. And then, when the crisis hits, they're shocked to discover the person wasn't who they thought. But you can't be shocked if you've been testing. You can't be blindsided if you've been collecting data. The betrayal still hurts. But it's not a surprise. You knew. You just hoped you were wrong. The cost of Rule 5: it makes relationships transactional. It turns every interaction into an evaluation. It removes some of the spontaneity and warmth because part of you is always watching, always testing, always gathering evidence. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is giving people access they haven't earned, trust they haven't proven they deserve, power they'll use to destroy you the moment it serves them. Test loyalty before it matters, or learn who's loyal when it's too late to protect yourself. I want you to drop this. I verify everything. Rule 6: accept that some people will betray you no matter what. This is the rule that saves you from paranoia. This is the rule that gives you peace. Some people will betray you. Not because you did anything wrong, not because you failed to follow rules 1 through 5, but because betrayal is in their nature. And you cannot prevent what's inevitable. You can only recognize it faster and remove them sooner. Machiavelli spent significant time discussing what he called the nature of men. His conclusion: some men are incapable of loyalty, not because they're evil, but because they're constitutionally unable to put anyone's interests above their own for any sustained period. These are the scorpions. You know the parable. The scorpion asks the frog to carry him across the river. The frog says, "You'll sting me." The scorpion says, "Why would I? We'd both drown." Halfway across, the scorpion stings the frog. As they're both drowning, the frog asks why. The scorpion says, "It's my nature." Some people are scorpions. They will betray you. They will hurt you. Not because you failed to protect yourself, not because you violated the rules, because it's their nature. And nature doesn't change. The psychological profile of the inevitable betrayer: they have a history of betraying others. They lack genuine empathy. They view all relationships as transactions. They cannot delay gratification for relationship preservation. They lie about small things constantly. They feel entitled to take what they want. They rationalize hurting others easily. If you see these patterns, you're not looking at someone who might betray you. You're looking at someone who will betray you. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. The strategic response: identify them early. Limit their access immediately. Never give them information, power, or proximity that they can weaponize. And when they do betray you, because they will, don't be surprised. Don't waste energy on shock or hurt. Just remove them and move on. This is where most people fail. They see the red flags. They know someone is a scorpion, but they think, maybe they'll be different with me. Maybe I can change them. Maybe if I'm loyal enough, they'll be loyal back. No, scorpions sting. It's what they do. Machiavelli said, men ought either to be well treated or crushed because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, of more serious ones they cannot. Applied to betrayal, Either keep someone so close they'd never risk losing you, or keep them so distant they can't hurt you. The middle ground, where you trust a scorpion but don't control them, is where you get stung. The cost of Rule 6, it requires accepting a dark truth about humanity. Some people cannot be fixed, cannot be trusted, cannot be changed. And if you're someone who believes in the fundamental goodness of people, this rule breaks your worldview. But here's the freedom in Rule 6. Once you accept that some betrayals are inevitable, you stop taking them personally. The scorpion that stung you wasn't making a statement about your worth. It was expressing its nature. Your only mistake was getting close enough to be stung. The person who masters Rule 6 doesn't get bitter, doesn't become paranoid, doesn't start seeing everyone as a potential betrayer. They just get better at pattern recognition, better at seeing the scorpions early, better at maintaining distance from those who will inevitably hurt them. And when the betrayal comes, because it will, they're not destroyed. They're not even surprised. They just think, there it is, right on schedule, and they move on. Rule 7, the ultimate defense is not needing anyone. We've arrived at the final rule, the rule that transcends all the others, the rule that makes you truly immune to betrayal. The ultimate defense against betrayal is reaching a state where you don't need anyone, where you want people in your life, but you don't need them, where relationships enhance your existence, but don't define it, where betrayal hurts but doesn't destroy. This is what Machiavelli called self-sufficiency, what the Stoics called self-sovereignty, what modern psychology calls secure attachment. It's the ability to stand alone, completely comfortable in your own company, completely capable of meeting your own needs, completely independent of external validation. When you reach this state, betrayal loses its power. Because the person who betrays you can only take what you gave them access to. And if you haven't given them access to your core, your self-worth, your purpose, your identity, then they can't take anything that matters. Here's what this looks like practically. You have friends, but you don't need friends to feel worthy. You have a partner, but you don't need a partner to feel complete. You have business relationships, but you don't need any single relationship to survive. You are the foundation. Everything else is architecture built on top. This is the hardest rule to embody because it contradicts everything we're taught. We're taught that needing people is human, that dependency is love, that vulnerability is strength, and all of that is partially true, but it's also a trap. The moment you need someone, they control you. The moment you can't survive without them, they can demand anything. The moment your happiness depends on them, they own your emotional state. And that ownership, that power you voluntarily gave them, is what makes betrayal devastating. Machiavelli understood this in the political realm. He wrote, "Princes who have done great things have held good faith of little account, and have known how to circumvent the intellect of men by craft." Translation: the powerful don't rely on others' loyalty, they rely on themselves. Psychologically, this state requires deep internal work. It requires building self-worth that isn't dependent on external validation, building identity that isn't defined by relationships, building purpose that exists independent of other people, building emotional regulation that doesn't require others to maintain your stability. The person who has done this work cannot be betrayed in the way most people are betrayed, because betrayal's power comes from taking something you depend on. And if you don't depend on anything outside yourself, there's nothing to take. But here's the paradox. When you reach this state, when you genuinely don't need anyone, you become more attractive, not less. Because desperation repels, neediness repels, but self-sufficiency attracts. People want to be close to those who don't need them. Because there's no pressure, no obligation, just choice. The shadow side of Rule 7, it can lead to isolation if taken too far. If you interpret not needing anyone as not connecting with anyone, you end up alone. The goal isn't isolation, it's sovereignty. You engage with people from a place of abundance, not scarcity. Want, not need. The cost. Getting here requires walking through loneliness. It requires sitting with yourself, all of yourself, the good and the bad, until you're comfortable there. It requires building yourself into someone you actually want to be with. And most people never do that work. The freedom. Once you've done it, betrayal becomes background noise. It happens. You feel it, but it doesn't define you. It doesn't destroy you. Because the core of who you are, the foundation of your worth and purpose, was never in someone else's hands. It was always in yours. This is the ultimate immunity to betrayal. Not avoiding relationships, not building walls, but building yourself so completely that no one can tear you down. Being so whole that betrayal creates a crack, not a collapse. Drop this final affirmation: I am complete. So where are you right now? Be brutally honest with yourself. Are you violating Rule 1? Telling everyone everything, handing out ammunition disguised as authenticity? Are you ignoring Rule 2? Believing what people say instead of watching what they do? Are you blind to Rule 3? Trusting intentions instead of understanding incentives? Are you missing Rule 4? Putting all your vulnerability in one basket? One person, one relationship that could destroy you? Are you skipping Rule 5? Assuming loyalty without testing it? Giving access without verification? Are you denying Rule 6? Trying to fix scorpions, believing people will change their nature for you? Are you trapped before Rule 7? Needing people so desperately that betrayal devastates you? Most of you, and I know this with certainty, are violating at least 4 of these rules right now. You're open when you should be strategic. You're trusting when you should be testing. You're dependent when you should be sovereign. And that's why you keep getting hurt. Not because you're unlucky. Not because people are terrible. Because you haven't learned the rules. You're playing a game you don't understand, and you're shocked when you keep losing. Here's what you need to understand. Knowing these rules changes nothing. Reading this changes nothing. Most people will watch this entire video, recognize themselves, feel uncomfortable, and then go right back to the exact same patterns tomorrow. Because awareness without application is just entertainment. If you're getting defensive right now, that's proof you needed this. If you're thinking this is too dark or this is too cynical, that's proof you're still attached to illusions that are costing you. If you're uncomfortable, good. Discomfort means you're seeing something you've been avoiding. This isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming strategic. It's about protecting yourself without becoming paranoid. It's about engaging with people from strength, not vulnerability. The lie you tell yourself about why you keep getting betrayed is the most expensive lie you'll ever buy. Because it keeps you repeating the same pattern, trusting the same type of people, violating the same rules, and wondering why nothing changes. So how do you become immune to betrayal? How do you implement these 7 rules? You don't do it by reading more. You do it by changing behavior. By killing the parts of yourself that create vulnerability. To implement Rule 1, you must kill your addiction to oversharing. You must learn to pause before revealing. Ask yourself, does this person need to know this? What could they do with this information if circumstances change? Share strategically, not reflexively. To implement Rule 2, you must kill your desire to believe words. Start tracking actions. Keep a mental record. When someone says one thing and does another, believe the action. Every time. No exceptions. To implement Rule 3, you must kill your romanticism about human nature. Start analyzing incentives. Ask yourself, what does this person gain by staying loyal? What would they gain by betraying me? Structure relationships so the answer to the second question is always less than they'd lose. To implement Rule 4, you must kill your desire for one person who knows everything. Compartmentalize deliberately. Distribute your vulnerability across multiple relationships. Never make one person your everything. To implement Rule 5, you must kill your impatience. Test people slowly, consistently, over time. Give access incrementally, based on proven behavior, not stated intentions. To implement Rule 6, you must kill your savior complex. Accept that some people cannot be trusted. Recognize the scorpions, and walk away before they sting. To implement Rule 7, you must kill your dependency. Do the internal work. Build yourself into someone you enjoy being with. Create worth that doesn't require external validation. Become whole. It's a long path. Most people turn back because each rule requires sacrifice, requires seeing things you don't want to see, requires accepting truths you've been avoiding. But for those who walk it, who pay the price, who implement all 7 rules, betrayal loses its power. Not because it stops happening, because it stops mattering. Here we are. You've just absorbed 7 rules that most people will never understand. Not because they're complicated, because they require accepting uncomfortable truths about human nature. What separates you from everyone who watched this and changed nothing? Implementation, action. The willingness to look at your current relationships and apply these rules even when it's uncomfortable. These rules mean nothing if they stay theoretical. They only become protection when they become practice. I know part of you is resistant right now. Part of you is thinking this is too dark, or I don't want to be this strategic. That's fine, that's your choice. But understand the cost. Continuing to operate without these rules guarantees continued betrayal. The 99% stay vulnerable and call it trust. The 1% become strategic and call it sovereignty. Which one are you going to be? If this video opened your eyes to patterns you've been missing, hit that like button right now. Then drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am untouchable. Share this with someone who keeps getting hurt by the same patterns. And subscribe because we're going deeper. We're revealing more about human nature, more about power, more about protecting yourself in a world that will use you if you let it. But understand this, there are things about betrayal, about reading people, about protecting yourself that I cannot say publicly. Things too tactical for the algorithm. If you want the uncensored version, the advanced strategies, click the join button. Step into the inner circle. Most won't. That's the point. You now have the rules, you now see the patterns. What you do with this knowledge determines whether you keep getting betrayed or whether betrayal stops having power over you. The choice has always been yours. You just didn't know the rules of the game you were playing. Now you do. Stay protected, stay 7 steps ahead. Until next time.